my ability to speak Spanish sucks.
This is Grace, and she moved from New York City to beautiful Valencia, Spain, with her partner and two kids. I brought her to the channel to talk about how living in Spain compares to living in New York City, how and when they decided it was the right time to leave, the specific visa pathway they took, and how they made it an easy legal process for their family, how much she spends monthly on rent, private school for her kids, and her cost of living in general. And we're also going to talk about the hard parts about living abroad as an American that most people don't talk about. And finally, her advice for others considering the move. If you're new here, I'm Alex, and I help Americans move abroad through an online community and this interview series. So let's get to it. All right, Grace. So you've been in Spain for about 5 years. Were you in Valencia the whole time, or were you somewhere else?
I was born and raised in New York City, and we moved to Valencia during COVID. So the first 2.5 years we were in Alphenac, which is a suburb of Valencia, because it was COVID and like the suburbs was sort of the thing to do. That was my first time in my whole life living anywhere other than like New York City, more or less. After 2.5 years in the suburbs, I was like, I cannot live in the suburbs. Like, so we moved right into the center of Valencia.
And when you say we, who is we?
So I moved with my then husband and my two small children, who at the time were like 9 or 10 months old and 4 years old.
And you were living in New York. What prompted the move?
So I love New York. I never imagined myself living anywhere other than New York. And we had a good setup. We had like an oddly affordable apartment. It was in Harlem. It wasn't the greatest neighborhood, but like it was a nice apartment. It was spacious. I had a job that I loved that I'd been working out for 5 years. So there was like nothing that I was thinking like, oh, we're about to make a change. But then COVID happened, and that coincided with the birth of my second little boy. And it was like everything flipped on its head. Like suddenly, like our apartment was too small. I mean, it was COVID. I don't have to tell you how that was. It was hard for
Yeah.
everyone. The other thing that really changed was I had been working for one of the co-founders of the company. We had the best relationship. He left and I got a new boss, and it was one of those things where like he wouldn't have picked me and I wouldn't have picked him. Also, probably like I was hormonal, I'm sure. Like I was either like 9 months pregnant or had just had a baby during COVID. Like
Right.
suddenly like work became like this source of tension that just had not existed for me before. And we were like, we need to make a change. Like, do we move to the suburbs? What do we do? And we just couldn't get excited about anything. It's a random story. We had these neighbors who were Spanish, and we were very good friends with them. We shared a wall with them. Like, our kids would run back and forth and play together. And they were like, we're moving back to Spain. And we had kind of gone to Spain or Italy almost every year during the summer for a substantial amount of time. And so we always loved Europe, and we sort of had thought it would be cool to live in Europe for a year while the kids are young, but like as a theory, not as a concrete plan in any way. And when they said that, my husband was like, I'm gonna like call a lawyer and just like see if we could move to Spain. And I think we were just like down during COVID, and it was like something that made us feel excited. Like it
Mm,
felt like, oh, like this is actually something we're not surviving, like something to look forward to. And so the lawyer was like, yeah, you can get this thing. It's called a non-lucrative visa, which essentially means it's meant for people who are retired, but it means like you draw an income from someplace other than Spain. You're not taking a job from a Spanish person, but you're
yep.
spending your money here. And so we kind of went in a way that I would say was open-ended. In my mind, I thought we'd go for a year or two and come back. My husband was pretty transparent about the fact that like he thought this was like a long-term thing, but it was
Mm.
sort of a joke, and it was something we were both comfortable being flexible about or ambiguous about. And so those neighbors moved to the suburbs because they were from here originally. And we actually moved maybe 6 months later, and we found a house that was like 1 block away from them. It was the only people
Wow.
in Valencia. We'd never been to Valencia before. Like, I don't know why the fuck we did this. It was so
Yeah.
random.
Wow.
So
That's
we
incredible.
moved. We were like, okay, we found this house. It's beautiful. There's a pool. There was a quality of life thing almost right away where, like, coming from New York City, which is, the most expensive city in the world for good reason, you go to another place that's not New York City, and all of a sudden, like, there's a bit of something opens up for you, right? Like,
Right.
we've never found a house like this in New York. It would have been far outside of our reach. So that in the
Mm.
short term felt really cool.
How much were you paying for rent in New York City?
okay, for a two bedroom in Harlem. And we got a special deal. It was in a building where it was under market price. We were paying 2,500 for a two bedroom. But in Harlem, and I grew up like in New York City on the Upper West Side. So like I actually like Harlem. It has a lot to offer, but it's not like the Upper West Side. It's not the West Village, right? Okay, so then we moved to the suburbs, and actually it was a very, very nice house, and we were paying the same amount. But it was a incredible house with like beautiful furniture, incredible floors. We were like, wow, like look at this house that we're moving into. And then when we moved into the city, we found this apartment and it's in the dead center of the old city. It was 3,000 square feet. It had the biggest windows in every room that you've ever seen, like just beautiful, absolutely special. And that was also 2,500 at the time. I think now it's more like 27 euros. Again, for us, it was like, well, that's what we're spending in New York, but we're getting 25 times more.
And
And I
you're in
will
the
say,
center, and you're in the
yes.
center of the city.
And I
Yeah,
am, if your listeners are like interested in numbers and I don't mind sharing them. So when my
yeah.
husband and I separated, I moved out and it was really important to me that my apartment be very, very close to his. So I found an apartment that is around the corner, more or less. It's about 2 or 3 minutes walking. It is smaller. It's 105 square meters, but it's gorgeous and it's 1750.
Okay.
So, again, coming from New York, like there isn't, I don't think you can find, there's no apartment in New York for 1750. I don't think.
Your place that you have now, it's a one bedroom, two bedroom? How big is it?
It's um it's a two bedroom with a living room, dining room, playroom. It's a very large two bedroom.
And so you're working remotely right now
Yeah.
for American clients or American company.
Yes.
I was part of the wave of digital nomads who used the non-lucrative visa before the digital nomad visa existed. But now have just completed 5 years here in Spain, so I'm getting a permanent residency.
Me too.
Which you go, yeah, exactly. So Americans, when they're an American passport, you have to have some sort of temporary residency for 5 years and then apply. Then you can apply for permanent residency. If you have permanent residency for another 5 years, then you can apply for citizenship. My family is from Venezuela.
Yeah.
And so I actually had a Venezuelan passport until my teens, but it expired. So if I can get my Venezuelan passport somehow renewed, I can
Yeah.
immediately apply for citizenship because for former Spanish colonies, uh,
Oh,
it's
that's
only a
wild.
2 year residency requirement, and the years
Okay.
that I've already been here would apply. Tell me a little bit about your cost of living right now in Spain. What is your sort of ballpark monthly average?
So what I will say is I'm a consultant, so sometimes I work less and sometimes I work more. When I work more, I spend more. That is like the nature of the nature of living, I guess. But more or less my baseline, I'm spending around in dollars about $7,000 a month, and that's about 2 grand for rent. Kids go to a really wonderful school that I love, and that's about, again, I'm rounding up a little bit, but it's about $1,000 per month per kid. So I pay half of that, so that's two for rent, one for kids' school, and then I would say like probably I'm spending around 4,000 a month on, call it everything else, disposable income. So
Got it.
groceries, restaurants, clothes, after school, or not after school activities, but like, like the kids do, they do sailing on the weekends, like stuff like that,
Got
just
it.
all the other stuff. And it's very comfortable.
How old are your kids?
They're 6 and 9. What I will say is that as a parent, the thing that you discover when you become a parent is I don't believe like, oh, there's a best school. It's like there's the school
Mm,
that's the right fit for your kid. My kids are at such a good school for them. I think the
mm.
quality of the education is absolutely so high. I feel like the staff is like so loving. There's like an educational philosophy that underpins the way they go about teaching the children, and that is like really clear to me. And I respect it a lot. And I feel like it's a really values-oriented education. And like maybe most importantly, like the kids love school and they come home and they're like excited about what they learned. So I think this school is really it feels like a blessing in my life, honestly.
Are they being taught in Spanish and English? What is the format?
It's a Spanish Catholic school. It's
Okay.
technically bilingual, but what I will say is like there might be one other expat family in each of their classes. So the kids obviously speak Spanish, I mean, speak English better than the other children because all the other children are learning. But the intent is for the Spanish children to learn English, so they do half of the subjects in English and half the subjects in Spanish every day.
Okay.
They're learning
Okay.
to read and write in both languages. But I think the kids overwhelmingly communicate in Spanish because, they're all
Bet.
Spanish.
That brings me to another question, which is you and the language. What has that been like for you?
Okay, I'm going to caveat this by saying, like, I think other people probably learn foreign languages better than I do. Like, I think I'm an especially poor student, but I would say that inconsistently but consistently, I have been taking Spanish lessons since we got here. Did I take a month off here and there? Yes. Like, did I do homework? No, never. But for the last 5 years, I've been like taking classes and somewhat trying. I will
Nice.
say my ability to speak Spanish sucks. Like, I think it's a different part of your brain. Maybe I have more practice listening than speaking. Of course, I do actually. So
Hmm.
I'm trying, like I'm trying to speak more and I'm trying to learn because I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. And like when I'm in New York City where I was, born and raised, I am like part of the fabric there. And when you move to another country and especially when you don't speak the language, but even if you do speak the language, you're not part of the fabric. It's like you're in it and you're outside of it at the same time. You're kind of
Yeah.
carving your own weird little path. The other thing that I will say, like, we haven't talked about the things that are hard, but like, it depends when you move, like, what phase of your life you're in. Like, I did study abroad in Florence, and I was like, this is the best semester of my life. And I remember having a moment where I thought, I'm the same person here in Florence that I am in New York, but like, everything around me has changed, and I felt so alive. Like, I loved it. And
Hmm.
I think in the back of my mind, I thought that like moving to Spain was going to be this similar like study abroad type feeling.
Hmm.
Okay, but I have two young children. I'm in a marriage, right? Like I'm a wife. I have a job. You're the same person. So like all your responsibilities, all the things that you have to do at home, you still have to do those things in another country. And it's not study abroad, right? I think one of the main differences, like when you're 20 and you move to another country, like you are pursuing all of your passions and your joys, and you're making so many friends because you're meeting all of these people
Yeah.
who are doing the same thing. When you're 40 and a parent and you move to another country, you don't have time to like go out and drink until 2 o'clock in the morning, having deep
Right.
philosophical conversations and like adventures and like laughing about everything. Like making friends as an adult in another country, making acquaintances is easy, but forming true, deep friendships
Yeah.
is hard. And you don't connect with every expat that you meet, even if you
Totally.
want to. And whoever you are and whatever struggles you have wherever you are, you're going to have those same struggles. You're just doing it in another country. It's an easy place to have a nice life.
Hmm.
It's a really nice place to raise children. I mean, really.
Hmm.
Um, I think the culture is really deep and specific to Valencia. I think the worst thing, two things come to mind. One is you can't compare. You have to like put your comparative mindset aside. I remember last year like buying tickets to go see some show with the kids, and I was like, we're gonna be in like the third row. This is gonna be the best show. And we show up, and I was like, did they do a sound check? Like, did they even rehearse this before they put the show on? Like compared to what you would get in New York City, right? Like just imagine where I'm coming from. And I had this
Yeah.
experience a couple of times. I was like, what is going on? Like, and then Fallas just finished. And a lot of people are like, oh, Fallas, it's so noisy. And this year I was like blown away by the quality of the traditions that this city puts forth for all of its guests and visitors and inhabitants. But you have to kind of like take a moment and appreciate it. And you also have to understand it. Like it's not obvious at first. Like there's this procession, it's an ofrenda that goes where all of the different Fallas clubs go from their club to the main plaza, which is, down the street from here. And it takes 2 days. These people walk in these extremely expensive, beautiful, traditional costumes with their entire families and their clubs with flowers. And it starts at like 3:30 in the afternoon and it ends at like 12:30 at night for 2 days. And the first couple of years, I just ignored it. I was like, this is annoying. All the streets are closed. I can't get around anywhere. And this was the first year where I like actually really understood it and watched it and like saw it with appreciative eyes. And I was like, it's so beautiful. Like I felt so lucky to like be a
Hmm.
part of it. And also there are like 20 other things that that take place during Fallas that are absolutely like world class. And so
Yeah.
like if you're going to, the K-pop Demons show that you think is going to be so great with your kids, it's going to fucking suck compared to New York. But like if you find the thing that Valencia does because it's what this city is, it's as good or better, right? Like New
Yeah.
York City could never do Fallas. Oh, and the other worst thing is uh like coming from New York, there's like this sense of like customer service, and it's like,
Oh.
like you wanted this, you asked for this, and like we're gonna make an exception, we're gonna fix it for you because like the customer is always right, and it's like that mentality does not exist here. Like, which
No.
is like you're lucky if they will sell you something. Like they don't care
Yeah.
if they don't want your money, they don't care,
Yeah.
and it's really frustrating. Because the like American consumerist in me is like, is this any way to run a business?
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere. And it's like they do not care.
I know. I'm like, I want to give you money. Please understand. Like, it's so funny. Oh my God. This is really great. It touches on advice that I've given to people too when they move abroad, which is to really kind of embrace the experience of being in that local community because there are so many very specific things that happen. And in all of Spain, I've found like every town, every city has its own very specific
Yeah.
festivals and rituals and things. And there are some things that people associate with Spanish culture. For example, the running of the bulls and stuff.
Mhm.
Like that's a specific thing in Pamplona, like one city in one part of Spain. But it's so famous that it's, people associated with all of it. But last year I went to the Tomatina. Have you heard of
Okay.
the Tomatina? This is the
Tomato throwing fight or
Yeah,
no?
this is
Okay.
a city called Buñol, about an hour from Valencia, where they throw tomatoes at each other.
Okay.
And it's just, the mayhem that you can imagine with
Was it,
that.
did you like it?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was
Did it
amazing.
hurt?
We took goggles. Oh, it hurt so much. I got hit with like a raw, like a full, because you think like, oh, they're gonna, tomatoes, yay, whatever. No, no, no. The reason everybody's covered in tomatoes because they start off as full tomatoes. They just throw at people. So I got hit in the face a couple of times with tomatoes. I was like, okay, this is serious. But it's incredible. It's incredible. I took a GoPro and I was just filming like this, and I was like, I can't see anything that I'm filming. I'll just check this footage here.
That
And
does sound
yeah, incredible. But that's a specific thing for that town. What advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about moving, let's say to Spain, to Valencia, and they're in a similar situation as you? Maybe they're living in a big city in the US, they're living in Chicago, they're living in LA, New York.
I think if you feel the call to do it, like there's something that's speaking to you that's saying like this would be a nourishing experience for you. And if you feel that call, like you should follow it. You can always move back. The one thing I will say is I do feel grateful that I, spent 20 years working my ass off in New York City as a young single person and then moved. I don't know, and I'm sure there are a lot of different ways to do things well, right? But in looking back at my own life, I imagine it would be hard to like start a career here now. I do think like that would be a bit of a struggle. And when I think about my own kids, like who knows where they will end up or, how they will sort of think about themselves culturally. But like my hope for them is that they will go and work in a big city for at least a few years to sort of like just build those skills and to just practice working hard for a little bit to just sort of set yourself up to have choices in your life.
I'm curious about your specific process with the non-lucrative visa during COVID. Was that an easy process?
I mean, it's like
It's
a lot of gathering paperwork and it's a lot of paperwork and things notarized and all this other stuff. But it was relatively easy, yeah. I'm pretty sure you need a lawyer to guide you through that process. Had we tried to like navigate it on our own, I think probably it would not have happened because there are nuances to any process. And if you just like show up completely uneducated, right? No, you want a lawyer who's done this 800 times who can explain exactly what you need to do and like what the pitfalls are. I would say with a lawyer, it was relatively easy.
anything that you would have done differently?
I would have put in, like 4 hours a day for the first year of studying Spanish because I do think, like you touched on before, like the language is a real vehicle to genuine connection. And so that I'm still working on it.
What about your plans for the future?
I deeply value and want peace in our family, despite the fact that we are separated. And I feel like because we separated last year, like that was a big change for the children. And I'm not inclined to be like dragging them back to the United States. Like that's another really big change that like I don't think we need to introduce right now. That said, like, is there a part of me that's like, if I were back in New York City, I would be pursuing a career that would be super gratifying, that would be way different than consulting, where I would be really building something and that would feel good for me personally and would be exciting, where I'd be surrounded by like the friends that I grew up with and like that energy that I know and love so well, and where I could like literally just communicate with whoever I wanted. And so like if my ex-husband, disappeared tomorrow, which I would not wish, but if he did, like, would I be inclined to go back to New York relatively quickly? Like, yes, because that's still more comfortable for me. But like we exist as part of a family now, and I can see that being here now is better for our family, and that also feels better for me. It's like sort of like these
Mm,
dual realities. So like when people ask me, my family's like, when are you moving back? I honestly just I don't know. Like I just don't know. Like it's working.
mm,
I know it's working right now. I'm
yeah.
taking things 1 year at a time.
Yeah, no, totally understandable. I think the aspect of having support around you and community is so much more important than your environment and, the country you're in, because I've made the mistake myself in the past of thinking like, oh, this country is great, it has great infrastructure, it has this, it has that, I have this opportunities, whatever. But if I don't have my people, or if I don't have this kind of support for a lot of people, a lot of times
You get
that's way
really sick
better.
and you miss your mom.
Yeah,
She can't
like,
drop in from Venezuela.
yeah, exactly. Like maybe, yeah, maybe you live in a really shitty city or town or whatever, but you have support and you have your infrastructure
Yes,
and you have your
without
friends
a
and you
doubt.
have, and always that is much more resilient in a crisis or a period of instability than being in another country where you don't have that kind of support, even if the country itself is more stable country.
I think that's
Um,
spot on.
you
I
know?
also just, I touched on this before, but like, I can't emphasize enough. You take deep friendships for granted because you have them all your life. Now, like when I spend time with a friend, I'm like, this is so great. Like it gives me so much energy, like a real friend, because
Yeah,
the absence of those kinds of relationships,
yeah.
it just brings a lot to your life. And so be prepared to put some time into making friendships. It's what you're talking
I
about.
love
It's
that.
this community, and it's not easily replicated. It takes time.
I mean, this is the reason why living in Valencia, I started hosting events and kind of wanting to create more community around me because I realized like, wow, all the people that I love are scattered all over the world. Like, I have amazing connections and amazing people in my life, but if I don't have them on a day-to-day basis, or I can bump into them, down the street or whatever, the value of those relationships kind of diminishes quite a bit.
And I really
So,
do think that serves a very important purpose. I will say, like, this past summer, it was like my first summer single, again, after being married for 16 years. And I was like, I don't have any friends. I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know how to go out. Like, all my friends are, married with husbands and children. Like, they're not going out on Saturday night. And I don't know if it was through Meetup or through one of your groups, but like, it was like something, it was like you were there and was like, here's a consistent person who's like hosting events. And like, am I going to fall in love with every person at this event? Absolutely not. But it was like a place to start. I just need to leave my house and meet up with a group of people. And I didn't know how to do it without a group like that. Like, I needed the platform and the space for it. So I will just say I was very grateful that you created that space. And I did make two very good friends through it,
oh,
girlfriends.
great. Oh,
Uh,
fantastic. I love it.
and that has brought me a lot of joy. So
Oh,
thanks for what you're
good.
doing.
Oh, I
Not
appreciate
a
that.
waste
That
of
makes me
time,
so
Alex.
happy. That makes me so happy to hear those stories. Thanks so much for being here and chatting with me about all of this. Is really, really useful. And I know a lot of people are going to find a lot of value with this.
My pleasure.